Do you think you're ready for the show? Welcome to the NoCo, a podcast about the people and ideas all around northern Colorado. Today, my guests are Jody Margheim and Lesli Bicknell. Jody is the Executive Director of Admissions, Counseling, and Recruitment at Ames Community College in West Greeley, and Lesli is the Director of Academic Advising at Ames. Community college is an interesting in-between environment in today's academic society. We jump into these ideas and wrestle with some things that admissions, counseling, and academic advising are wrestling with both in general and at the Ames Community College campus. I hope you'll find today's content as informative as I did. Don't wait for my permission, let's go! Okay, here we sit in person. I'm joined by Jody Margheim, the Executive Director of Admissions, Counseling, and Recruitment.
Correct. Hello.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you for joining us. And I'm sitting here also with Lesli Bicknell, the Director of Academic Advising.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And we're sitting on campus at Ames Community College in West Greeley. First off, a little unusual start here, but let's try something new. How did both of you end up at Ames Community College?
I'll let you start, Joe. Okay. Well, I started at Ames Community College in 2014, and my path to higher education was actually a little different than most. I started in K-12 education and spent several years there, and when I saw the position posted here at Ames, I was like, wow, that is an exact match with everything I've done in my past, and it aligned with the skills and talents and education that they were looking for, and it aligned with my personal values and goals as well. So that's how I ended up here.
And regionally, where'd you come from before this?
Well, I was born in Greeley.
Oh, nice.
So I didn't get very far. I was born in Greeley. I grew up in Loveland and graduated from Loveland High School, and I currently live in Windsor.
Very nice. So you were very familiar with northern Colorado.
Very much so,
yeah.
Yes.
And Lesli, how'd you end up here at Ames?
Well, I started out, actually I'm originally from Michigan, and I moved to Colorado to go to school, went to school at CSU, and my undergrad was in economics with a business concentration. Worked in the business world for a short while and discovered it wasn't a very good fit for me. My whole undergrad experience, I actually worked in student affairs work as a work study, and kind of discovered I wanted to go back to education. And so then I went and got my master's degree in student affairs and higher education, worked in residence life, worked in student activities, went back to working in the business world for a little while with my husband's business, actually, which is in insurance, and then came back to higher education here at Ames 10 years ago. So I've been here 10 years and started out in academic advising, went to career services for a little bit, and now I'm back with academic advising again.
Yeah. How do either of you or both of you feel like the jobs you had leading up to today changed how you operate in your current role?
Go ahead.
I think I have a little bit of a different experience because when I did my graduate degree, I did seek to be in higher education, but then I also went back to the business world for a little bit, and I think the blending of those two worlds is really helpful for me frequently with trying to see processes from maybe a more objective or outside standpoint, trying to see it more from our students' viewpoint sometimes. Mm-hmm. And that's helpful for me. That's very helpful for me. And then my experience starting out as an academic advisor and then moving into a coordinator role for career services and then back into academic advising and now being the director of academic advising, my experiences in career services also really helped me expand my thinking about what we can be doing to serve our students well.
So working multiple different types of jobs in different fields and kind of, for lack of a better phrase, bouncing around, it gave you more sort of like different lenses to look at this through.
Exactly, and a greater depth of knowledge about our community in Ames
And for me, when I originally started into the work world, I really didn't know what I wanted to do, what I wanted to be when I grew up. And it really took me quite a long time to kind of figure out, what does this look like for me? I did a lot of different things, and even a lot of different things within the K-12 education system. I started as an office manager in that arena, and then I was a grant coordinator and I taught, and then I was a partnership coordinator. I was a safety coordinator in a grant position. So a lot of different opportunities to have some different experiences. And as I went through that process of trying to figure out, what do I want to be? I learned that I wanted to make an impact, and I wanted that to be broad. And I feel that what we do, provides that opportunity. I mean, we get to impact lives in our work every day. We get to help people see, know, understand that they can change their lives through education. And I would have been one of those students that probably might not have been seen as going on to college. My mom pushed me to do so, and I'm glad she did, because I wouldn't be sitting here if that didn't happen. And so sometimes we just need that little extra, you can do this, I believe in you. You have choices. You can change, everything about your future can be changed with education. So that's what I absolutely love about what we do. And you see it when you talk to people. When they come in that door and they're like, I'm not sure what I want to do, but I think I want to go to college. And you start that conversation, and that for me is pretty much everything. It gets me pretty excited about what we do.
Yeah. I feel like it's important, as you said, someone who didn't necessarily know what they always wanted to do. That is so valuable, because a lot of times the students that you're advising are going through the same thing, and they're feeling pressure. Here's what's going to make money. Here's what will get me a job. But this is what I actually want to do, and here's what my cousin said I should do. And they're walking to you with a lot of influence, and they're looking for at least to have that narrowed down.
Mm-hmm. You bet. And on the front end of things, we can help through the admissions counseling office. We actually have some tools that we can use with prospective students to do some career exploration. We have a very generic tool, and then we have a tool that goes more in depth for students who have applied and said, hey, I really want to do this, but let's look at this further, because these are big decisions when you are talking about making, a financial, commitment. Thank you. A financial commitment to your future. You're saying, hey, I'm going to put money toward this, and I'm going to invest my time and my energy. And those are all very big things. So we want you going in the right direction and doing so. And we can help guide that conversation and facilitate that, so you can make some good choices. And then we also have some internal services that provide that as well. Our advising staff helps, and I'm sure Lesli can talk about that. And then we have career and transfer services as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Once our students meet with our admissions counselors, and hopefully at least are able to narrow down what they're interested in and declare a degree or a certificate, and then their next step, once they're through the enrollment steps, is to meet with an academic advisor. One of our first priorities is chatting with them about, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? And then making sure that what they have declared, whether it's a transferable degree that goes on to a 4-year degree, or whether it's one of our 2-year associative applied science degrees, which are designed to get them directly into the workforce, or whether it's one of our certificates, that it aligns with what it is that their goal is, what their career goal is, and what they want to do. A large percentage of our students are first-generation students, and so, as we frequently say, they don't know what they don't know. They don't know that declaring a pre-nursing degree isn't where they want to go if they want to be a doctor. They think medical, this is my first step, and then I'll go on and do this next. So academic advisors work with them to help better define where they want to go, what they want to do. Frequently, when they come to us, they still aren't sure. And sometimes their options are, like you said, influenced by friends or family, and they can be very diverse. Like, I'm not sure I either want to be a nurse or I want to go into welding.
That happens a lot. It truly does.
So then we have some tools that we use for career advising as a part of academic advising with those students. And then if we feel that they still need a little bit deeper dive, they're still having difficulty deciding, then we get them connected with our Career and Transfer Services office, and they have some wonderful tools, as well as our counseling staff, our actual counseling staff also do career counseling if we feel like, okay, this student has this dichotomy because there's pressure from family that there's money, earning potential here, but the family doesn't see it on this side. So the students, this is what I really want to do, but I'm being driven towards this. And so sometimes counseling actually comes into play. We have licensed personal counselors on each of our campuses that can work with a student to help them work through those elements of making a career choice as well.
One thing I was sitting here considering is, I remember, so let's assume for many of the students they're of traditional age, so 18, 19, 20, when they're asking for this advice, they're sitting down in front of you. I'm 28, and I still don't really know what I want to do with my life. What are y'all's opinions on the complex task of trying to help someone decide what to do with the rest of their life at such a young age? And usually within a semester or two, a year's window.
Mm-hmm. And getting younger. We have a large population of concurrent enrollment students, which are high school students that are taking college level coursework while they're in high school. And so they're being asked to make those choices at younger and younger ages. When I first started here 10 years ago, we had 3 or 4 of what we call degrees with designation, which were 2-year degrees designed and put together specifically to transfer into a specific 4-year major, such as psychology or sociology or any number of business of degree programs. Now we have over 30 of those. And the farther we go, the more defined those degrees with designation become. So it becomes critical that they make those choices sooner. We used to have a lot of students come to us and say, I'm just going to do my gen eds and then I'm going to go, work on a 4-year degree, and I've got the whole time I'm working on my gen eds to make that choice. Now, what math class they take is dependent upon what they want their degree to be in, and so they have to make those choices sooner. And so there is a lot of pressure associated with it. We have a wonderful, wonderful Career and Transfer Services staff that helps students to see that they make choices based upon interests, aptitudes, personality, and give them a lot of options to choose from. Sometimes expand their horizons to even learning about careers they may not have even knew were out there, with this great tool called U-Science that they use with our students. And I think that really helps. And then they also try to help students understand that this world isn't my grandparents' world anymore, where you picked one occupation and you did that for the rest of your life.
Right.
That most of us nowadays can make large career shifts like the ones Jody described,
or
in
you
her,
yourself.
in our own backgrounds,
where
we change typically an average adult 4 or 5 times. Makes large career shifts. But the foundation of an education is what opens those doors. I don't necessarily have to have, a degree that's specifically in business to be able to go and do what I'm doing now. Did it help influence some of my skill set? Absolutely. But I could have been an undergraduate psychology major and still be doing what I'm doing now. So we try to help them see that larger picture and feel a little less pressure about some of those choices.
I also believe that we have opportunities to be lifelong learners. So even though we have students that are freshmen in high school starting into college, they also have an opportunity as they age and get older to think about those changes and to change that pathway along the way. So your bachelor's degree can be in one thing and your master's degree can be in another thing, and things like that. Or you can do other learning opportunities as well, or come back and get a certificate and take that and utilize that in the work world. Those certificates, sometimes they're shorter term, sometimes they're longer term. It doesn't always have to be about a degree, if you will. And there are folks that just come back and do that for personal interest too.
What do you find students' reactions are when you say, okay, I need you to make a decision, but you don't have to stick through it your whole life? And they're sitting there cross-eyed thinking, do I start or do I go? Like, do you ever get any pushback with that? Or
I wouldn't say pushback so much as students still feel unsure. Yeah. And so a lot of the time we'll have students that are undecided. They'll say, well, I know I want a 4-year degree, but I'm not sure what I want it to be in yet. We'll get them connected with career advising. We'll get them connected at the next level with career and transfer services if they're still undecided after some of that initial career advising. And generally, we have them get started in our Associate of Arts degree because it's a general degree that transfers well into a lot of programs. And that's usually a good place to start. We have them choose core guaranteed transfer coursework that is at the heart of the foundation of 4-year degrees that will work well in almost any 4-year degree. So English composition, a core arts and humanities class, a core social and behavioral science class, maybe wait a semester on the math until they're more sure of what it is they want to pursue. Get them into some coursework, and sometimes just the experience of being in that coursework helps define more of the direction that they want to go in.
Absolutely. I feel like gen ed shapes a lot of people. The first time they've ever officially or academically interacted with biology or sociology, and all of a sudden they realize maybe this is the direction I want to go. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's a good balance, and it's a good strategy, kind of picking and choosing a way that we can still generalize to a different degree down the road. Mm-hmm. When students are walking in, do you see, or have through your years of experience now, do you see that students are coming in with specific concerns, or are there like big issues that you just feel like maybe were surprising when you started here that students are walking in with?
Well, I wouldn't say in my mind that this is surprising, but they come in and they're like, how much is this going to cost, right? That's a number one question that we receive is, what is it going to cost? Or they're surprised if they've been shopping what or how much less it might be at Ames. So if they're comparison shopping between other institutions and what that looks like, and different pathways have different costs. So, but that's certainly something that's critical when you're a prospective student and you're looking at, okay, I want to get an education. How am I going to pay for it? What might I qualify for? Are there scholarships available? How do I apply for those? What does that look like? So that's all a part of the conversation up front as to what do those opportunities look like, and how can we help connect you to those opportunities. And as an institution, it's very important to us to be affordable and to be a great value to our community. And with that being the case, our board has kept our tuition at the same rate for 8 years. Our tuition has been frozen. So, right? Yes. So
that is not common.
It's not always that way, and we have a few different tuition rates. And for folks who live in Weld County in our taxing district, it's like $67 and change per credit hour for just our general type classes that students can take. And for those that are in state, it's a little over $105 a credit hour. So those are very affordable rates, and that's a part of the conversation that we have. We want to mitigate debt. That's really our main goal in helping students. We don't want them to come out in debt. We'd rather they come out in a great financial position and spend money buying their first nice car or nice house or something like that instead of paying college loans.
Yeah.
And the value is, we can't stress enough the value. I think we're starting to see more students start at Ames and then transfer after they complete their associate's degree to the 4-year schools because they're recognizing the value. Unfortunately, a few years ago, I think there was an impression that it's only community college. Students are learning, I have the same English professor at Ames that my friend that's going to UNC has at UNC, and it's the same English composition class. The quality, the rigor, it's all there. And so,
Yes.
and it was a well-kept secret for a little while, but I think the word is getting out now.
Right.
And we have, our board has also opted to invest heavily in the technology that we have on all of our campuses. So when our students are in the classroom learning, they are learning on the forefront of technology, the high-end equipment that they're going to see in the work world. They're touching, using, and will be working on the same thing when they step into the work world, and that is also a priority. Sometimes, yes, that is the truth. But no, too, that we do have programs that have some what we call differential rates that are included in those tuition rates. So it's important for a student to know what those programs are and what's included in that. An example of that is our automotive program. They have a differential rate, but they also, the students, as they go through that program, they get their tools in their toolbox. And so they're prepared and ready to go to work when they graduate. And employers really like that, because that's one of the questions that they ask is, do you have your tools? Are you ready to go to work? And our students can say yes.
Right. You had mentioned, and you air quoted, only community college. I kind of wanted to touch on that because I feel like some people have that same vibe. And if you care to expand on that or give an opinion.
I think just we've had to balance, it's been a wonderful thing that our board has assisted us in fantastic financial planning to be able to keep our tuition rate at a very affordable rate. And I think, unfortunately, sometimes people equate low cost with not necessarily high quality. And so our college and community relations team and our recruiting teams have done a fantastic job of highlighting the quality associated with what we have here. And I think anyone who comes to visit our campus will quickly see the quality in the equipment of our classrooms, the quality of our buildings, and the quality of the staff that are here and are passionate about helping and working with them. So I think there was unfortunately maybe a stigma attached to community colleges in the past that fortunately I'm seeing that go away.
I believe I'm seeing that shift as well, and I'm very excited about that shift.
Yeah. It's strange. There's this dichotomy, right? Because we all know that when something's on sale, bada bing, bada boom, we're going to buy it. And then we also have these things in our lives that we're willing to spend more money on because we think, oh, I want the upper echelon part, this jacket. I want the upper echelon jacket compared to the one I might get on sale. And I was sitting here thinking, why do students attach these values to school? Especially students who come into an academic advising office or, an admissions counseling office and say, I'm worried about the money. And yet we have people at the same time saying, well, if it's not expensive and if I don't have to go 6 figures in debt, then it's not worth it. You struggle with that? Students' assessment of this worth or coming in or feeling like I'm at Ames, but I'm not sure about it yet?
I think we have a handful of students that are that way. We have a lot of students that come to us that start at UNC and either for financial reasons or sometimes academic suspension reasons are referred to Ames and have an opportunity to kind of restart, if you will, and get a number of credits under their belt with a good academic standing and then transfer back to UNC. Many of them, we find they come here with the intention of, I can't afford UNC this semester, so I'm just going to do a semester here and save money and then go back. Or they come here because they're on academic suspension and they're thinking, I'm going to get those minimum credits I need to transfer back and be right back over there. And UNC is a fantastic university and a wonderful partner to us. And they're very supportive of their students coming here and starting here and then transferring over. And what we find is sometimes Ames is a better fit for them, and they end up being here more than just one semester. They're here for 3 or 4, and they think, well, maybe I will complete my whole associate's degree and then transfer back over because they enjoy the smaller class sizes and the more personalized instruction, the free support services that we are able to offer as a community college that many universities have to charge for, and they enjoy, and then they are successful and they go back to UNC and have a wonderful experience. So,
right. And as someone who teaches at both Front Range Community College, where I have 17 students in a class, And I also teach at UNC in Greeley, and I have 91 students, and it's the same exact enrollment. It's Psych 120, Intro Psych. I'm right in the middle of exactly what you're talking about. So, exactly what you said. We're not saying that a four-year university or Ames or other community colleges in the area, it's not a us or them situation. It's like a group of organizations working together to help everyone find their fit. And I was going to ask you, I bet there are students who say, oh, I'm only here for a semester, and then they stick around because they found something at Ames that they enjoy.
Yes.
Have you heard from students like one or two things that ended up snagging them and kept them here at Ames?
I would say the opportunities for involvement for a community college without a residential housing program, we have a really high quality of activities and programs and clubs and organizations that our students can be a part of. And many of our students come from smaller schools, so stepping into that kind of a leadership role on a smaller scale feels much more comfortable than trying to do it in a much larger setting on a university campus. And so they get that experience, they learn how to navigate financial aid and scholarships and a lot of the systems that they have to learn how to navigate here, and then that prepares them better to then go on and be successful at the university.
Jody, anything you feel like has popped up in your experience here that is
that
really...
keeps them? I think that in what we've seen from feedback from students is the community. We had a campaign for a while, and it was it not just a number or more than just a number?
Not just a number.
Not just a number, and students were repeating that campaign back to us on camera, and that was really their statement, is that I'm not just a number at Ames, I am more than that. I am connected to people, whether it is our student life area and opportunities for leadership, or whether it's I'm connected to an instructor, or I'm connected to other students. I feel welcome on our campus. I belong here. And that is really, that's a great place to be when you feel like you fit in and you belong and people care about you. That's really what, in my mind, is where I want to be, right? I think that's where most of us want to be. So,
an introductory university class with 100 and 200 students. I know a freshman here at Ames, and his high school graduating class was 22 people. 22. You telling me you're going to come from a high school of 22 people and sit down in a room of 100 and feel like you belong? Like that is overwhelming.
Right.
And so, and I know that he's enjoying it here at Ames. So,
Right.
And we have fantastic first-year experience programs and even a second-year program for our students called Catalyst that helps them build and develop their leadership skills and those navigation skills. And it's a wonderful, like Jody said, it gives them a sense of belonging, which we all know is one of the most important factors for retention and success, is if they feel like I matter and I belong here.
And we also have peer mentoring and coaching too.
Yes.
So additional support systems that are provided for our students.
Yeah.
So you touched on it earlier, but I feel like a lot of people think that community college is just where you get your basics and you go elsewhere. But you all offer, correct me if I'm wrong, bachelor's degrees, 4-year degrees, or is it all like associate level?
Associate level.
Okay.
So we have Associate of Arts and Associate of Science degrees that transfer into Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Science degrees. And we also have Associate of Applied Science degrees, which are career or vocational degrees, if you will, that are intended to get them directly into the workforce. And then we have certificate programs, professional certificate programs, that are also designed to get them directly into the workforce as well.
Okay. I feel like it's good for our listeners to know, because so many people like, community college, people have assumptions, and we're here to correct those.
Right.
Yeah. In your old time here, have you noticed anything changing about the student body? Do you see more or less of a certain type of student than when you started here?
I think we are beginning to see more traditional age students that are coming directly here from high school in the 10 years that I've been here.
Oh, more so than it used to be. Okay. That's interesting.
We always had a good number of those students, but I think we're seeing more of those students now. At least that was the feeling I've had the last 2 fall semesters, is that last 2 years, is that we're seeing more students that are wanting to start here versus go to a 4-year school right off the bat.
Right. So before it was non-traditional students coming back, or Ames was after they had tried somewhere else more often?
Well, we always had a nice number of traditional age students that were coming directly out of high school. And then also non-traditional students or students just coming back for professional development or certification to increase their credentials. But I think we're beginning to see, with the cost of education going exponentially up at the universities and other in 4-year colleges, I think we're beginning to see more traditional age students consider Ames as a first step.
Yeah.
I also feel like we have seen a bit of a demographic shift in our white population. Our white population is declining some, and we have other populations, so we're becoming more diverse as a college, and that is great. So, and we have diversity in all different aspects, and we talk about that when we're recruiting students, because Leslie just mentioned, we have our traditional students that are coming right out of high school. We have folks that are in an elderly population and everywhere in between, right? So folks that are coming back to retool or get a new skill to use in the job market. So that in a classroom is a very rich learning environment, and different cultures and different backgrounds. Those all provide opportunity to learn in the classroom, but to learn about one another too.
These shifts you're seeing in the student body, do you think it's from word of mouth? Ames is being verified by people who've showed up and enjoyed it? Do you think it's with these freshmen, sophomore, juniors in high school who are doing concurrent enrollment and they're telling their friends, like, hey, I like this,
I think it can be any number of those things. I also believe, because I'm from recruitment, we have been very intentional in our recruitment outreach in the past 4.5 years. So in working to cultivate some of our, working with our high schools directly and really trying to help them through the process. So I partner with Leslie's areas to host registration days for high school students, which it really looks like a school will bring a bus of students over, and we will walk them through the process to become an Ames student that day. Typically, they have an application on file before they get here, but they do their assessment process, their new student orientation. They chat with an advisor. We do a tour. Sometimes during these registration days, they actually get advised into their classes. They get their parking pass. They get their student ID. They are good to go. So when we do this in the spring, those students walk out of here in April or May, and they're Ames students. They're set for their classes in August. Mm-hmm. So we've created that process, and the high schools are really liking that, because then they're feeling like, we've really helped our students beyond high school. So they may be graduating, but we've helped them with their next step as they're preparing to step into their post-secondary education. And I feel the feedback that we've had, our different high school counselors is very positive, and they continue to ask us for more. So,
popping off the top of your head, besides that event, which sounds awesome, what other intentional ways are you all trying to get out there and recruit people without giving away some trade secrets?
Well, this one, it may be a trade secret, but I think that if other colleges wanted to do it, more power to them, because we're all here to serve the community, right? And that's really our goal. So last year we implemented College 101. We serve a lot of first-generation students and families, and if they don't even understand the language of college, that in itself can be very intimidating. So we host College 101 sessions throughout the community. We've been hosting them at libraries. We've been hosting them at all of our locations, and really just trying to help people feel comfortable with the discussion of college. What is it? What is involved in financial aid? What is a CRN? We have a ton of acronyms in education.
Yes, we do.
So that's another component. Just being a good community member and providing a service to the community, that's another component. We partner with our high schools around that too. So we'll go into a classroom. We'll do different activities in a classroom. In addition to that, we host tours on campus. We run 6th grade tours in the spring. We brought over 1,200 students.
Wow.
Yes, last spring we had over 1,200 students, and we have lots of different areas that help us with that. So in that, they're young, but they need to have some kind of an idea of college might be for me. And they need to start thinking that at a younger age instead of their senior year in high school, because sometimes it's too late by then.
And, if you don't consider college or some sort of all your options by senior year, like we were talking about earlier, you have such a small window to consider. But if you get people thinking about it a lot earlier, it might be a more informed decision by the time it's time to sign the paperwork. In both of your roles, what is one or two challenging pieces that come to mind?
I want to replicate myself many times over.
Technology is coming. It's on its way.
We've implemented technology to help with that.
Right.
And it has been wonderful, truly. I mean, it has helped us really get some of our processes better aligned with the work that we do. I just want to share everything that Ames is and has and the value of that to the community. I don't want to stand at the top of the mountain and, broadcast that. But here we are.
Yeah.
So
it's not a mountain, but it is a microphone.
Right? So I think for me, that's the biggest thing. I think when I started here at Ames and first started doing tours, it was in some ways the best kept secret. And there have been a lot of efforts, not only from myself, but different areas, our president's office, our community and college relations office, to really showcase what we have to our community so they know we're here and know that we're an option.
Leslie, a challenge you face?
I would like a clone as well. I think right now one of growing pains is probably one of our greatest challenges. Ames is so committed to making sure that we are providing the best possible services that we can for our students, and Jody's team has done such an amazing job of recruiting that, and sometimes we're playing catch up to make sure that we're getting everyone trained on the new processes and the new approach and getting more staff so that we can better serve our students. Academic advising in the past has had a centralized model where we had a central advising center here, and we were, with the exception of our allied health programs, which are pre-nursing, pre-rad tech, and pre-surge tech, the rest of us were kind of generalists in how we advised all the programs that we have here on campus. And as we've grown over the last few years, we've realized that in order to better assist our students, we needed to have more of a case management model. And so we are actively looking for technology and software to help support us in that approach and growing our academic advising staff so that we can begin to provide better services for our students through case management.
Yeah, because you want to give every student enough time in order to answer all their questions and make them feel comfortable and secure. But if you got 15-minute slots and you got to get everybody in, then sometimes you're rushing people out the door, and
I'm
sure that's not the best feeling.
Right.
Do you find that there are certain struggles that students will or won't share with you? Because I feel like when you open the door to admissions counseling or academic advising, you never know how students are going to react or what they're willing to share with you based on their life experiences. Have you had interactions with students that were either surprising or that you've seen some trends that students were willing to open up about with you?
The wonderful thing about the smaller classroom sizes that we've already mentioned is that even on our academic side of the house, they are very committed to seeing our students be successful, and not just in an academic sense. And those smaller classroom sizes sometimes give them the opportunity because they have contact with their students 2 or 3 days a week, whereas admissions counselors and academic advisors maybe see them once a semester, twice a semester if we're fortunate we can get them in the door. Faculty sometimes will see those things emerging that students may not have shared with our initial contacts with them. And we have this wonderful system called CARE where they can put in a report and say, I have a concern that this student may need additional support, whether that's financial struggles, food, personal counseling, more support with financial aid and scholarships. My car broke down, now I can't get to class. And we have this wonderful CARE program that is chaired through our Director of Counseling and our Dean of Students office that helps reach out to those students and say, how can we help? What's happening with you? And that's where frequently, if it's something that they wouldn't share right up front with us about a concern, that sometimes those things bubble to the surface, and then we're able to provide the support that they need. We have a food pantry on campus. We have personal counseling. We have a disability access services office that coordinates and provides accommodations for students who need it. So even if they don't share it right up front, usually I would say by the end of the first semester, if there's a significant need, it's recognized.
Mm-hmm. We also have at Ames what we call a single point of contact, and this person is the person that folks who are experiencing homelessness can work with, and that way a student does not have to tell their story 100 times, right? So that every person they come into contact with, I have to tell you about my life, and that can be painful sometimes, right? So that story and that experience, and so that is just another way that we are working to try to support our students. We also have programs here at Ames for first-generation students, low-income students, and students with a documented disability, additional support systems for them, and then just those services, those free services you were talking about, right? The tutoring services and things like that, free parking. I mean, just those little things can help you be successful if you are facing challenges in your life of some way, shape, or form. Personal counseling, you can go and talk to somebody and get some additional supports. So,
because people think about admissions. I'm going to show up and fill out my FAFSA and such. Or they think about academic advising. Okay, 15 minutes, I'm going to meet with someone and we're going to go through my classes. That may be the case for some. But I feel like this process has got to be more personal than maybe you all thought before you got into it, or than most people think, because the little influence that you have, if it knocks someone 20 degrees in a different way, over 10 years, you've essentially changed someone's life and trajectory.
And you're right. I think we didn't really talk about this a whole lot, but there are times when we'll sit down with a prospective student and they'll tell you their story. They'll tell you where they're coming from, why they're sitting in your office, what brought them to you today. There's usually something that brings them to you. It could be mom and dad saying, hey, you have to go to college. But it can be, I need to retool because my skills are no longer relevant. Or I experienced some major event in my life and now I want to do this. So, and we do get to hear those stories. And then we look for how do we plug you in and get you the best supports necessary for that.
Right. Once you get this information, you all are probably very interdependent with a lot of other programs on campus. Here's Absolutely. Who you can talk to, or let me have so-and-so reach out to you. And so I feel like the more you practice that, you probably just become super interconnected with every other branch on campus.
It's true.
Yeah.
It is very true.
This is a lofty question, but if at all, how do you think this role here at Ames has changed you as a person in general?
It has changed me so tremendously. I can't even describe it, quite honestly.
Okay.
And there are times, like even now, you ask the question, I'm like, I'm going to get teary-eyed because of what we get to do. But when I talk to our team about what we get to do and how that ripple, and the ripple is a word that we use internally, and it's something that's a good thing, the ripples and recognition that Ames has, that ripple that we have in those lives. Oh my, if somebody would have told me when I was a kid that this is what I would do or get to do when I grow up, I would have been like, no, I don't think so. I wouldn't have believed that. And it's such a privilege and incredibly, it's just, I can't even put words to it, the amount of privilege that we have to get to work with our students and the wonderful people within Ames to do the work that we do. And it takes every one of us to pull it together and to make that happen.
Yeah. Do you happen to remember like one of the first examples of this or surprises where you took the position and you thought, okay, it's going to be a lot of paperwork, I'm the executive director. And then all of a sudden you realize you changed someone's life for the better? Does it stick out, or was it just kind of like this slow creeping realization?
It was a creeping thing, but it didn't take too long for it to creep in, I think. I was like, Oh my, actually it was more like, oh, we have a lot of work to do. And, we need to do this and we need to do this and we need to get this word out and everybody needs to know this. And it didn't take me long, and I get teary-eyed like this. I've done that for years, so it's not a new thing by any stretch of the imagination. So.
Well, I think you should consider yourself lucky because not everyone has a job or a role or a purpose that they get to wake up and come to during the week that makes them feel that,
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. It's an incredible thing. It really is, and I feel very lucky and very blessed to have that in my life.
Yeah. Leslie, you feel like?
I've worked at four-year universities, and I've worked at Ames, and I've worked at another community college, and I think the change for me is that I know the community college is home. I wish I had known about community colleges. I would have started at one myself as a first-generation student myself. That would have been so much a better fit for me, but I didn't know, again, I was a first-generation student, so I didn't know what I didn't know. I thought I'd go right to the four-year school. I think it's very much the same as what Jody has shared. Some people search for meaning in what they do. Our meaning is all around us, and we see it on a daily basis, and it is a privilege. It's amazing what opening the doors to education means to our students, and whether they're traditional age students or non-traditional age students or students that already had a degree but now they're coming back to do something different. In the open enrollment and affordability of our college makes it possible for them. I have multiple examples of students that when they first walked through the door, and I was honored to be able to work with them, weren't really sure if this was for the right place for them or not, and watch them successfully graduate from here, transfer to UNC, get their UNC degree, go on and get a graduate degree. And this is a student that when they first came through our doors was afraid they might not be able to do this, right? And that just, I've been on lots and lots of search committees here in the 10 years that I've worked here. And one of the best questions that our candidates sometimes will ask the interview team is, what do you like most about working here? And without question, the majority of the answers on the search committee every time, regardless of what position we were interviewing for or what the composition of the search committee team was, whether it was faculty, staff, support services staff, student affairs staff, the answer is always, I love the people I work with because they all want the same thing I want, which is success for our students. And that's an incredible unifying feeling.
It is. There's no agenda. It's all about that student, and it's all about their success.
How do you think this has happened over time here at Ames? Because I've worked in multiple schools. I taught middle school and high school, and I didn't feel like that shared vision and that shared passion was always present. And I'm sure there are universities in the country somewhere who might say the same thing. It's not by accident, but I wouldn't even say it was by design either. It's somewhere in between. How does Ames build itself to this type of environment? Or is that just the aura of the place?
I think part of it is the nature of the community college mission. You don't seek to work at a community college that is open enrollment and is about open access if you don't care about the students that are coming there. If you're more interested in research or you're more interested in making a lot of money,
making a name for yourself,
right,
notoriety,
right, then the community college isn't where you seek to be. I think Ames has had fantastic leadership with our board and with our president. They've clarified our mission and our vision and our purpose. They've created a strategic plan. The campus has had an opportunity to have a voice in that, the campus community. And so, it's very much that we are, the people who come to work here care about students doing well and being able to serve our students. And I think that just kind of that basic recognition that if we didn't have our students, we wouldn't have a job. And I think that sounds maybe oversimplified, but it's true. And I think, it's not 100%. We have folks who come and go and maybe don't stay because maybe they are looking for other things in their careers. But the folks who stay are the folks who care about the students.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Jody, anything to add?
I think Leslie really touched on what the thought that popped to my mind when she was talking about the board and the president. And you see this all the way through. And it comes from the top, it comes from the bottom. Our leadership fully believes in what we do, and the folks that are working everywhere throughout the college. I think that how we created that, I am not absolutely certain, but I saw the question that you just mentioned last week in an interview, why do you work here? And at that point, they're interviewing us, right? Mm-hmm. So, and I think that that's an important thing to do when you're looking for a career. You do need to interview where you're working. And I think it's huge if you can believe in and get behind that mission, vision, purpose that Leslie was talking about. Our purpose is to build a stronger community, and that's the bottom line. That's what we want to do, and we want to do that through our students.
The enrollment here at Ames, has it grown over the last couple of years? Is it like a steady little bit every year, or?
We have had enrollment growth the past several years, actually, and we have a pretty significant new student growth, so new students coming into Ames as well. And that has actually been going against national trends because our economy is so good in this area. Typically, when the economy is good, enrollment will drop some, and we have not seen that national trend in our college, thankfully. Yeah. We're very excited about that and thrilled about that. We have more part-time students right now because they're working and doing other things. So we've seen kind of a growth in that area. Sometimes students, when that economy tanks and there aren't jobs, they'll be like, hey, I want to go back to school and reevaluate my options and see what other opportunities I can create for myself in doing so.
Yeah. So I asked because I know that 2 community colleges in Colorado have seen a pretty severe drop over the last 3 or 4 years in enrollment for one reason or another. And it sounds like Ames is immune to that, and it's probably a testament to the reputation in the community, a lot of things we've been talking about this whole time. So I was very curious about your enrollment numbers and what you all were seeing there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We are seeing growth, and we're also seeing growth in not just in overall enrollment and our traditional population, if you will, traditional, non-traditional students, but we're also seeing significant growth in our concurrent enrollment population. So our students that are coming in at the high school level and working with us through partner opportunities, they're gaining college credit while they're in high school. Right. And we've had significant growth in that area as well. Yes.
Just students coming from outside of Greeley? Or is it mainly Greeley?
We have students who are outside of Greeley. Our service area is Larimer and Weld County. So I would say the majority of our concurrent enrollment populations are within those areas. There may be a few outside of that, I believe. But the majority is within our service area.
For people who maybe in high school, maybe they're in undergrad, they're in some sort of part of their life where this could apply, whoever that may be, what advice might you have for people on the other side of this process who might end up in a chair across from you someday?
Well, if they aren't sure what that looks like for them, I'd encourage them to take the steps to see if it is for them and to have that conversation with us. I'd invite them to do that, and they can do that in many ways. We have on-campus tours. We call them Tuesday tours. We have them at some of our other locations, and they're not on Tuesdays. Some of them are. We have online get started sessions, so we'll do group sessions with folks. And so if they can't get to campus, but they have a lunchtime free or a little bit of time in the evening, we can do that as well. We also invite them to any of our College 101 events, and all of those components are actually listed on our website. We'll also do individual appointments, and that's where we really can get into that career exploration piece and that one-to-one. How does this look for you? What's your end goal? And then we kind of back that plan up of how do we get you to that end goal and what might that look like? And that doesn't always end up being the same pathway for the goal, depending on how they want to get there and how long they think that, or how much time they can contribute to getting there and what that looks like in their family and personal lives. There are times that you have to say, can you handle that right now in everything that's going on in your life? Because we want students to be successful when they're getting here. So it's important that they step back and see, can I manage this along with whatever it is? I'm working full time. I have a baby. I have another one on the way. These things, and these are true stories for our students.
Yeah.
So,
because you have the desire to go to school, but then there's also the reality, the ability, what we talked about before, the money. How am I going to pay for this? Is it loans, or am I going to be able to pay for it step by step? These are all things that we hope people are considering. These can be overwhelming, so you hope they come in and talk to you or come in for a tour at minimum.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we love to show off our facilities and our technology and our classrooms and our faculty.
Right.
I mean, it's a pretty wonderful experience for folks to get to come in and see our campus, and they're like, oh my goodness, this is much bigger than I expected.
Yeah, and it's undergone a lot of changes in the last couple of years, including the state-of-the-art gym that's actually open to the public, and they sell memberships like it's a full-fledged gym.
So you can actually take a class and have access to that gym.
Oh, yeah, nice.
So.
For people out there.
Yes.
Leslie, anything to add for advice you might give to someone in this time of their life?
From an academic advising perspective, the most important thing that I would share is start early. Make sure when you're looking at your options that you consider Ames and start early. We have a lot of students that flood through our doors the end of July, August through the first day of classes, and that's where we end up not providing the kind of service that we want to provide to our students. When you have 150 students a day coming through your door, it begins to feel like what you had referenced earlier with I have 15 minutes with an academic advisor, because we're trying to help everyone get through that process all in one day of getting admitted, doing your assessment pieces, seeing an academic advisor, helping you register for classes, getting you your ID and your books and your parking permit and all those things. And it's when that happens, we don't get to spend that quality time with those students to really get to know them and to find out, okay, what are you thinking and where do you want to go and how do we help you get started? And so I would say start early. Do your admissions applications early. Do your application for federal student aid, the FAFSA, early. All these things take time to process, and it feels much more supportive and encouraging if you give yourself time to get through those processes versus showing up on the first day of classes and saying, I'm here.
Yes. And to add to what Leslie is saying, it's very important for our students, in my mind, to know that our scholarship application for next fall is going to open this November, and that's a typical schedule for us. So it opens in November, and it will close the end of February, generally, for the majority of our scholarships. And we have a tremendous amount of scholarships and funds available to support students, so we want them to know that, and we want them, that falls into that start early, because it gets them into that bigger pot of money as well.
And these are important tips and advice because people don't know what they don't know. And a lot of times they might feel stuck in a situation because they waited a little too long and then they don't have enough time to compare or get scholarships or get all the paperwork in that they needed to, and they might miss an opportunity that could have been there had they started earlier.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much. We're wrapping up here, and I appreciate both your time. If people want to reach out to you for any specific reason, I'm sure email would be best. They could find your information somewhere on the Ames website. And I actually found you all through a submission where you can type in questions to the advising.
The advising team, yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's called Ask an Advisor. at ames.edu. On our advising web pages, we also have advisor information where they can contact an advisor specifically as well. So,
and for our area, we actually have an email as well. It's called getstarted@ames.edu. So very simple. And we also have an admissions counselor page that has all of our admissions counselors on it with emails and phone numbers and pictures and all of that.
Very cool. And just in case, do y'all have any more community events coming up? Because recently we had the hot air balloon launch, which a lot of people didn't even know, and that was super fun here on campus. Do you know if there's anything coming up that's community-wide like that?
The one thing that jumps right into my mind is we have a community breakfast on November 1st, and it is actually a fundraiser for our foundation, and it will help us raise funds for scholarships. So, and that is it's a little different than the hot air balloon launch, but it is one of our big community events, and it's very important to us.
Okay, community lunch or breakfast?
Breakfast.
Community breakfast for scholarships here at Ames.
Yes.
Okay, November 1st.
Yes.
Mark it on your calendars, folks.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you both for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have an idea or input about a possible future guest on the show? Reach out to us at themoreyouknow@gmail.com or just private message us on our Instagram page. I want to say a special thank you to Russell Isaac Long, the man responsible for all the music used here at the More You Know Co. Are you looking for a little bit of bonus content in addition to the regular episodes on the show? Look for us out there on the interwebs on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at The More You Know Co. Until next time, peace!